This is News 25 with Deanna O'Donnell and Stacy Jensen. News 25, local news you can count on. News is brought to you by J.K. Nelson Law. Give them a call, 727-9900. News is also brought to you by Desert View Hospital. You can count on us.
Thanks so much for joining us here on News 25 on KPVM TV and Ace Country Radio. I'm Deanna O'Donnell.
And I'm Stacy Jensen. It is Monday, July 11th.
Well, one person was taken to Desert View Hospital following a two-vehicle crash over the weekend. This was not the first time recently that he had been the victim of a car crash. Nye County Sheriff's Office deputies are investigating the cause of a two-vehicle crash that occurred on Saturday night on Blagg and Irene Street. Involved was a white compact car and a black Porsche. One person was transported from the scene via Pahrump Valley Fire and Rescue ambulance. This individual, who was in the passenger seat of the Porsche, was recently in another crash when he was walking down the street on West Street and an individual backed up into him. He is still recovering from those injuries. The passenger inside the Porsche had recently been in a crash in which he was the victim of an auto versus pedestrian on West Street. Regarding that incident, that patient was backed into while he was walking down the street by a vehicle and is still recovering from that crash. No one inside the white car claimed any injury at the time of this incident. Traffic was diverted around the scene by Nye County Sheriff's Office auxiliary units.
And Pahrump Valley Fire and Rescue Chief Scott Lewis says that all the patients declined to be medically transported from a scene of a weekend crash.
Emergency crews were dispatched to a two-vehicle crash on Highway 160 and Rainbow here in Pahrump on Saturday afternoon. Pahrump Valley Fire and Rescue, Nye County Sheriff's Office deputies, auxiliary units, and Nevada Highway Patrol all arrived on scene. Both vehicles sustained major damage as a result of this crash. Traffic was diverted around the incident during the investigation and cleanup. Nevada Highway Patrol is investigating the cause of this. Medics checked out all occupants on scene who declined to be medically transported at the time of the crash. And completing our weekend crash report, a local man was airlifted after rolling his PT Cruiser in a Pahrump neighborhood. Nye County Sheriff's Office deputies, Pahrump Valley Fire and Rescue, and Nye County Sheriff's Office auxiliary units were dispatched to the area of Calvada Boulevard and Page Street Friday night for a report of a single vehicle rollover. Pahrump Valley Fire and Rescue checked out the driver and only occupant of this vehicle, who was transported via ambulance to the Mercy Air Base on Calvada Boulevard, where that patient was subsequently airlifted to a trauma center in Las Vegas. Nye County Sheriff's Office deputies are investigating the cause of this crash. It appears that no one else was inside the vehicle at the time of the incident. Traffic was blocked and diverted around the scene during the investigation and cleanup.
And a commercial building is damaged and several people injured. At least last report, at least 6 people were injured. This is after an explosion rocked a business in Boulder City.
According to the city of Boulder, the Boulder City Fire Department, hazmat, and police department crews have now cleared the scene of an explosion and small fire at a commercial building located off of South U.S. Highway 95. The incident, they say, started around 9:30 this morning. 6 employees at this facility were injured. 4 were treated at the scene and 2 were transported by ambulance to area hospitals. The city says that OSHA and the Clark County Building Inspector are continuing their investigation. On scene was the fire department from the city of Henderson, Community Ambulance, and the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. And District 36 Assemblyman Greg Hafen says that he's sponsoring a voter ID bill in the Assembly that will require identification at the polls.
So actually been participating in a number of interim committees. I serve on interim revenue, interim health and human services, and the interim finance committee. So we've been looking at a variety of different legislation and issues that we're seeing. One of the things that I've already submitted for was a voter ID bill, and I've been working on some veteran issues. Been talking to some constituents and some fellow legislators at trying to fix some of those. Right now, the philosophy is to buy cigarettes, buy alcohol. For the most part, you have to scan an ID to make any of those purchases, or at least show your ID. And so the concept behind that is that it should be the same way with voting, is you should be required to present your ID. And it's interesting, to register to vote, you have to have an ID. Well, why not just make that for when you show up to vote, that you actually have to show that ID?
We'll be back with more News 25 right after this break.
You're watching News 25, the most recognized and farthest reaching local news in Nye County. News 25, local news you can count on. This segment of News 25 is brought to you by Lisa Spahitz and Mike Plasmeyer at Country Financial Insurance. Auto, home, life, and commercial. 775-727-8920.
And welcome back. Climate change continues to ravage the country in the form of continuing drought. Well, Las Vegas is taking a hard hit that may never turn around. Nevada State Senator Pete Gogochia spoke to News 25 today about our local water basin 162.
I think probably first and foremost, on the water issues, and we've been pushing for it for the last couple of years, we definitely need to get some more funding to Division of Water Resources so we can come up with a true accounting and I'm talking about an accounting of all the basins, where they are, what their appropriation level is, what their pumping level, are they being over pumped? And, we've got the 258 basins in the state. The data we've got in place is pretty hit and miss, to say the least. And even to go to the state engineer's office, and I don't have to say the state engineer's office, like most agencies in the state today, since COVID, it's pretty hard to access any live people. It's a lot harder to get data retrieved. And then, let's be honest, the data that is in the Division of Water Resources has got a lot of holes in it. I'm saying the data isn't accurate and it's not complete. So, you could be a water right holder on the fringe or on the fringe or engaged, and they might not have your data. So clearly we need to bring the staffing levels up in Division of Water Resources. Once you put the staff in place disseminating that data, I think you still got to take 5 years, because again, you've got to establish your 5-year crop inventory, 5-year pumping records before you can take an action. And when Jason King was a state engineer, he talked about designating 162 as a critical management area, but it was never done. And the reason for that is, even though it's totally appropriated and over appropriated, it's not over pumped. Now, there are almost 40% of the basins in Nevada are over appropriated and also over pumped. So there are a number of them that are in worse shape than what Basin 162 is. But the bottom line is, and that's why I think it's so critical that we get this database in place and make sure we know exactly, all right, what is the status of 162? At what point are we over pumping? Nobody has that number. I blame Division of Water Resources. They have failed. They dropped the ball. They've been in place over 100 years, but they still don't have accurate data. And I continue to say there are water applications that have been delivered to the Division of Water Resources by the Pony Express that have never been acted on or incorporated. It's that bad. The Supreme Court did rule that the state engineer has the authority to regulate domestic wells. And so with that technically moving forward, I think the state engineer could, in fact, start denying, intent cards or the right to drill a domestic well if the basin's over appropriated. And I think the Supreme Court verified that he has the authority to do that.
On tomorrow's newscast, Senator Gogochia will talk to more in detail about the possible fate of the Las Vegas Valley.
Well, the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health Office of Epidemiology continues to monitor and respond to the current monkeypox virus outbreak in the United States and Nevada. As of July 11th, 5 monkeypox virus cases have been identified in Nevada, and 767 cases have been identified nationally across the 36 U.S. states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. The 5 Nevada cases all occurred in Clark County and were reported through the Southern Nevada Health District. While While the risk of contracting monkeypox is currently very low in the general population, the department urges anyone with a rash that looks like monkeypox to isolate themselves from others and speak with a healthcare provider, even if they do not think that they had contact with someone who has monkeypox. Evidence indicates that monkeypox is spreading mostly through close physical or intimate contact with someone who has the virus or by touching contaminated items such as clothing and bedding. It can cause a fever, headache, muscle aches, exhaustion, and swollen lymph nodes, followed by development of a rash that can look like pimples or blisters. The incubation period is usually between 7 to 14 days, but can range from 5 to 21 days. People who are immunocompromised, young children, and people who are pregnant or breastfeeding, and those with certain skin conditions may be more at risk for severe illness. While there are vaccines that provide resistance to monkeypox virus, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is not recommending vaccinations for the general public at this time, in part because of the limited vaccine supply. Vaccines are currently being allocated to states that use for known contacts and protection of those at high risk. Well, News 25 will return with an arrest report right after this break.
You're watching News 25, brought to you by Mountain West Lawyer, Injury Attorneys, 727-9500. Also brought to you by Silver State Health. Visit silverstatehealth.org or call 702-471-0420 for an appointment. News 25, local news you can count on.
And welcome back. Security at the Pahrump Nugget was forced to handcuff a customer as they blocked him from allegedly attempting to take their weapon during a scuffle.
Johnny Alvarez has been arrested for attempted robbery. According to the Nye County Sheriff's Office, on June 24th, deputies were dispatched to 681 South Highway 160 at the Pahrump Nugget for a report of a disturbance. While en route, dispatch advised that there was a male inside the casino who was allegedly throwing tables and chairs, as well as getting into a physical altercation with casino security. This male was later identified as Johnny Alvarez. Upon arrival, deputies say that security already had the male secured in handcuffs. Security allegedly told Nye County Sheriff's Office deputies that this individual unlawfully and forcibly attempted to take a firearm out of one of the security officers' holsters. Camera footage corroborated this statement, according to police. They say when security officers were attempting to escort Alvarez off the property, that's when he turned around and with both hands lunged towards the officer's firearm and appeared to physically grab that firearm with his left hand. Alvarez was then transported to the Nye County Sheriff's Office Detention Center, where he is facing charges. Looks like rope burn to me. Well, Aviation Nation Air and Space Expo is happening this November 4th through the 6th. The public is invited to Nellis Air Force Base to see the Raptor demonstration, Team Lightning II demonstration, the Thunderbirds, and so much more.
The Air Force Academy's acrobatic demonstration team will showcase their talents to the Las Vegas community for the first time in several years at Aviation Nation at Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada, November 16th and 17th. One of the larger air shows in the country, Aviation Nation traditionally draws a crowd of more than 250,000 people over the two-day event. The acrobatic team uses the TG-16A glider, a two-seat, engineless glider. The glider is towed to a designated altitude by a Piper Super Cub tow plane before being released and soaring in flight using thermals and prevailing winds. Although cadets on the Academy's acrobatic demonstration team routinely perform in air shows and competitions around the country, instructors from the 94th FTS will be the ones flying at Aviation Nation. In addition to aerial performance, there will be a static display of gliders that air show goers will get to see, as well as interact with a small group of cadets. Each of the cadets in attendance have been upgraded to instructor glider pilots as a part of the Academy's Airman program.
Well, we've all heard of an air quality alert mentioned during a weather forecast, but what does it mean and how might it impact your health? Well, Cleveland Clinic's Dr. Sumita Khatri says even people who are generally healthy may want to avoid being outdoors when air quality is poor, but certain groups should take extra care.
There are other people who are particularly more sensitive, and these are people with chronic lung and heart problems. And elderly adults and children are also more susceptible.
An air quality alert is issued when air pollution is high, so we can adjust our activities to avoid certain things, like being outdoors during the hottest part of the day. When heat and sunlight mix with exhaust from vehicles and industry, ozone levels rise. Ozone is one of the 5 pollutants considered when calculating air quality. High ozone can aggravate asthma, leading to coughing, wheezing, or chest tightness. Dr. Khatri says allergy sufferers are impacted by ozone as well.
For people who are exposed to ozone, there's a bit of a lag effect. So you may not realize in the moment that you're in a high ozone time period, but then the next day or the following day, you can have actually heightened effects to allergies. The ozone primes you to being more allergic if you're already allergic.
And Dr. Khatri recommends people with asthma pay special attention to the air quality and always carry their inhaler when alert is issued. She also advises avoiding exercise in high traffic areas, especially during midday heat when pollution is at its highest.
Well, Muffin is a beautiful kitty available for adoption right now from Never Forgotten Animal Society.
Today's Save a Pet segment is made possible by Realty Executives in Action. Put the team at Realty Executives in action for you.
Hi, I'm Darby here at Never Forgotten Animal Society, and today we are joined with Muffin. Muffin is this very sweet gray and white kitty. She has beautiful gold eyes. She's very, very friendly, loves playing, has a lot of energy. If you want to come and see Muffin or any of her friends here at Never Forgotten Animal Society, you can give them a call at 775-537-8674. You can go and visit their website at neverforgottenanimalsociety.com. They're located at 520 East Street, Suite C, behind Wells Fargo, and they also have a Facebook page. Check them out, Never Forgotten Animal Society.
News 25 WeatherCam is brought to you by Lerner and Rowe Injury Attorney's Office in Pahrump. In a wreck, need a check? Call 702-877-1500.
Well, it's been a hot day. I've seen a lot of posts today of everybody talking that they feel like they're in an oven. But we do have a little bit of moisture because there's some clouds.
That's right, but it's going to be kind of hot monsoonal type weather. That's what they're saying.
News 25 weather is brought to you by Dairy Council of Nevada. The splash of cream in your coffee, the dollop of sour cream on your burrito, the melted toasty cheese on your pizza. Undeniably delicious, undeniably dairy. Enjoy what's real.
Hi, good evening, Nevada. It's John Kohler from the KPVM Channel 25 Weather Studios. Great to catch you after this weekend. Yeah, it's great to be here. Glad you're feeling it too. Up in Fernley and Fallon, boy, they're really feeling it. 100 degrees, 102 out in Fallon. Carson City saw 98 today. Tonopah wins the Arthur Fonzarelli at 96 degrees. 98 out there in Goldfield. Beatty, 105. Oh my, that's got to break a record. 110 out in Amargosa. 109 in Las Vegas, just right behind them. And out in Death Valley, 119 degrees. But here in the paradise of Pahrump, whoa, we got something special for you. Look at this, 107. It was 108 just a little bit earlier. South-southwesterly winds definitely taking the edge off at 11 miles per hour. That humidity bone dry at 8%. What do? You live in a desert. The sun rose this morning at 5:35, and it's setting this evening about 8:03. It's going to be a gorgeous night. Star watching going to be great. Clear skies. Heading down to a low of 78 degrees, and as we head on into the week, nothing but triple digits plus. Look at this, 107 degrees is kind of the average throughout the week. Doesn't really vary all that much. We get a little bit of cloud cover in on Thursday and Friday, and those winds are pretty steady between 10 and 15 miles per hour throughout the week. Lows at night, mid-80s. It's just getting my pool water just perfect. You step right in. It's not even a shocker anymore. So enjoy that. Chain yourself to a AC unit and have a nice day. How about that? Back to the desk. Here's Deanna.
All right. Well, this weekend, Pahrump Disability Outreach Program and Positive Pahrump are having their back-to-school supply drive, and that's going to be at Walmart from 8 until 11. So if you would like to drop off items, you can do that at our local Walmart on Highway 160. We will do another post about that on our KPVM Facebook page. You can also go to PDOP's Facebook or contact them through pdop.org, of course. And there's some good movies this weekend for Movies in the Park. They have another one coming up this weekend, right?
It's the Adventures of Rufus, Fantastic Pet. That's coming up Saturday. It's at dusk at the Ian Deutsch Memorial Park.
That's right.
So bring the blankets, the little couple camp chairs, get the picnic going.
So I'm excited. I know that you were installed yesterday into the Pahrump Valley Rotary. We were there. We had a really good time at the Rotary installation and the debunking party. Eddie Williams is the president again. We'll let you know more about that story in the coming days, but congratulations on that.
Well, thanks for that. And then you were busy Saturday with the Pahrump cleanup, and you had a really great business that just started.
Yeah,
that's going to be
The Source. And I'm going to have an interview with them tomorrow. They're opening at the end of the month. This is the Source marijuana dispensary that you guys see down there on Homestead and Highway 160. We have an interview with them. They helped us clean up so much trash.
Like
they
40 people.
Yeah, it was like 50 and more actually at the end. And we want to thank Home Depot for donating, and of course the Source for doing everything that they did to help clean up. We will have that story as well on how the neighborhood cleanup did. If you want to know more about the Pahrump neighborhood cleanup, you can find us on Facebook.
Sounds good.
Sounds pretty good. All right, so we'll see you back here tomorrow night. We hope you had a wonderful Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow, and I'm Deanna.
I'm Stacy.
Good night.
Good night.